The Linux directory structure is there are a few directories that are going to be the same from one Linux system to another, and I'll show you those directories at the top level of the file system on Palmetto. If I cd to slash, slash is the very top level of the file system. In a Windows environment, that's kind of like the C drive. It's the root level or the top level of the file system. And if you type an ls there, you'll see nothing but a bunch of directories, and I don't have access to write to most of these directories. Really, the only directory I should have access to is my own home directory and perhaps the temp directory that you see there. But if you look at the slide, a lot of these directories listed here are the typical directories you'll see at the root level of a Linux file system. And the most important one is my home directory, which is in the home subdirectory, and my username is inside there. And then any directories that I create or work with are inside my home directory, like this intro-linux directory that I have listed there. So from the top level of the file system, if you type pwd, you're just in slash. You're at the very top level. You can't go any higher. From there, I can cd into home and then into my own home directory. And now I'm back in my home directory. Another important thing to note is that when you type pwd, this output shows the full path to your home directory. In other words, it starts with the root level of the file system, starts with the slash. That's always the full path to any directory that you specify. I can go to my home directory by typing cd tilde. I mentioned earlier that the tilde is like a shortcut for your home directory. It essentially means, in my case, /home/Galen. In your case, it would be /home/your username. So if you can use the tilde like a location that you would go to. I could type cd tilde, and that just takes me to my home directory. All right, I'd like for you to download some sample files, some files to play around with, and I want you to do that from the command line, because we're doing everything from the command line. And to do it from the command line, you need to use a command called wget. And this is the correct location for the files I want you to download. I'll just type that here, wget http city.clemson.edu/resources intro-linux.tar.gz. I know it's a mouthful, but download that file to your home directory. Be sure you cd to your home directory before you download this file. And it should be pretty quick if you're on Clemson's campus network. Now I just downloaded that file. Back on the slide, what we just downloaded is a .tar.gz file. See, the file name extension is .tar.gz. That means it's a tar file. It's a single archive file that's been compressed using gzip. I can unzip it using gunzip, and then I can open the archive file. The TAR stands for tape archive. It's kind of an outdated name, but it's still used. I can use the tar utility, the tar command, to open that file, and when it opens it up, it just reproduces the original directory that I'll then have access to. So I can do a gunzip. Actually, let me show you a shortcut. You can follow the same multi-step procedure that I have in the slides, or you can just do it in one step like this, tar-zxvf intro-linux.tar.gz. See, what I did there is I used the tar command, but within the tar command, I took care of the uncompressing by adding the Z flag. X stands for to expand, to unarchive it, if you will, which restores it back to a directory. V is for verbose, which means I want this operation to be performed in a verbose fashion. It reports every file that it opens. And then the last character there, the last option, F, that precedes the name of the file that I'm going to open. The order of these options, Z, X, and V, the order of those can be in any order. It doesn't matter. but the F always has to be at the end to precede the name of the file. All right, so now I just open up that directory. Let me cd into that directory. All right, and that's what you should have when you open up that directory. All right, so there are a lot of basic commands that are going to be pretty straightforward, and you've probably seen these in other systems. Some of them are actually similar to DOS in a Windows environment. To copy a command, you use the cp command. To delete a file, you use the rm command to remove. If you're going to copy or remove a directory, you'll also want to copy and remove all of the contents of that directory. To do that, you have to add the -r option. So copy needs the -r, and remove also needs the -r if you're operating on a directory. The mv command to move a file, that can be used to move a file or a directory from one location to another, or it can be used to simply rename a file or a directory. Let me show you how that works. I'm going to create a file, test23. And then I can use the move command to simply rename test23 to example. Pretty straightforward. So instead of moving it from one location to another, I'm simply using the move command to rename something. Now, the remaining commands on this slide are all different ways of reading files, reading text files. This is really important because Linux is primarily composed of text files and binary executable files. That's almost all the operating system consists of. And so being able to read text files is extremely important, whether it's log files from a computation you're running or configuration files. Lots of different reasons why it'd be important to be able to read files in different ways. The first command there, the more command, is simply used for reading a file and scrolling through the file one page at a time. I'll do that with this file called dictionary. This file contains all the words from a dictionary. It's about 80,000 words. So you see I'm just scrolling through one page. When I say page, I mean like a terminal window height. One window at a time every time I touch the spacebar. Not very interesting. I can't scroll up. I can't really do anything else. To get out of the more file reading interface, just press the Q button, and that puts me back on my command prompt. A similar way of reading a file is using the less command. The less command does everything that more does, plus a little bit more. You can scroll down through a file with the spacebar, just like I did before, but you can also scroll back up and down using the up and down arrows. Additionally, you can type / followed by some string of characters, and it will allow you to search for the first instance of that string of characters. And then again, you can continue scrolling up and down. So it allows that sort of very basic search feature in addition to reading the file. The other commands there, head and tail, those are actually quite useful ways of reading a file, especially if you're generating log files from some computation that you're running. The head file is used to read the first specified number of lines of a file. So for example, I'm going to read the first 12 lines of the dictionary. And that's it. So it's just printing out the first 12 lines from that dictionary file. Similarly, you can print out the last specified number of lines. I'm going to print out the last 8 lines of the dictionary. The tail command, I find the tail command to be a bit more useful than head, but they both have their uses. And so there you go, just the last 8 lines from that file. The cat command is used for a couple of different purposes. First of all, the cat command can be used to print the entire contents of a file to the screen.